Hey everyone, Regal Reviews here. It is the premiere night of the 38th season of Survivor. I am so freaking excited. So, to begin the season, they're on the white boat, which I freaking love it when they're on the boat and there's all the supplies there. And they only have set amount of time to get everything off. And then they jump all over and everything's all woohoo. So there's only 14 people there, and Jeff mentions how there's been some legends who have played the game before but have yet to win. So they bring 4 returning people on. So in case many Survivor fans didn't know, there is 4 returning players this season. And I really did like how Jeff talked about their sorry, my camera's a little talked about their Survivor journeys. They talked about he first started with Wentworth, how her first season she didn't do as hot, but then he highlighted her game and second chance, how she became powerhouse, the first woman to find 2 idols, and then used it in one of the biggest tribal councils in Survivor history. David, how he was afraid of everything, and then he turned into this big strategic threat. Joe, who we all know as Joey Amazing, it has won, I believe he's 16 challenges, and he's an obvious physical threat. Aubrey, day 1 was crying in the shelter, but then she made it to was able to make it to the end, became runner-up. So yeah, everything seems good. They're all getting supplies, and lo and behold, there's a secret advantage on there. Shocker. And it looks like Ron is the one that finds a secret advantage. So when I see secret advantage, usually it's the legacy advantage, and that doesn't really work out people's favors. So on the Manu tribe, Rick mentions how he's a huge fan of the game Survivor. Yeah, aren't we all? And he mentioned, I thought this was funny, he mentioned how he wants to be like the Kool-Aid man out there, and he kind of reminds me of the Kool-Aid man. Kelly is already skeptical about people. She doesn't trust anyone. She saw Rick going through some things, so she's out there to play the game, but then also she knows from playing 2 times before who she can trust and like what to do and not to do. And it looks like Kelly and Lauren seem to be a very they looks like they could be a potential alliance, and it was very cute to see Lauren fangirl over Wentworth. Yeah, I definitely think that those 2 could have a very powerful alliance going on, but then again, you got to be careful when you have an alliance of 2, because they could be a power couple and then people want to get them off and separate them. Wendy mentions how she has Tourette's syndrome, not like yelling curse words out, which is like the stereotypical thing when you think of Tourette's, like with more of motor. When she gets excited or nervous, it kind of triggers it. So I give her major credit for being out there and going through that. The Kama tribe, I even forgot to mention, so Kelly and David are on the same tribe. They're on the Manu tribe, whereas Joe and Aubrey are on the Kama tribe. I thought it was freaking awesome how Victoria said that one year she asked for a buff for Christmas. That really does show she's been a fan for a while. And Joe's trying to put Joey Amazing behind him, as he mentioned, and I'm sorry, I think that's impossible. I mean, Joe's an obvious threat, and anybody returning this season is a threat. Now, I think Joe's the bigger threat out of the 4 of them, but already they all have a target on their back, because the newbies aren't going to want somebody who's already played the game before to win. Ron then opens up his advantage, and I gotta say, correct me if I'm wrong, Survivor fans, but I don't think I've ever seen this one before. It's called Advantage Menu, and he can choose 3 attitudes. No, actually, I think Debbie had this in Survivor Game, something similar to this in Survivor Game Changers. He can choose to steal a reward, which is what Adam had in Millennials versus Gen X. He can use it as an extra vote at tribal, or he could use it as individual immunity. So I'm thinking okay, so individual immunity, so that means can he only use it on the merge? Apparently this advantage is only good and up until the third tribal council, so I'm wondering potentially if now I'm wondering if his tribe, wins the next two tribal councils, can he possibly yield it to somebody on the blue tribe so the advantage, doesn't go to waste, because I want to see how this works. So on the Kama tribe, Aubrey mentions what I mentioned, how Joe and her and all the returnees are kind of under this microscope, and they kind of have to watch what they do. They can't, they want to help them make fire for, so the camp has fire, but at the same time, they don't want to help them too much, because then they'll think, oh, they're too bossy and they're trying to tell us what to do. They're know-it-alls. So she's mentioned how she's kind of being a cobra, that she's kind of hiding away until she's ready to attack, which I think is a smart move for her. Gavin and Eric seem like they're going to have an alliance, and Gavin mentions what I said before, how Gavin wants newbies to win, and he wants to have he wants to have Joe or Aubrey go if Kama goes to tribal council, and Eric wants to keep Joe around for a while as a shield and wants to get rid of Aubrey first. I'm like, are you freaking stupid? If you keep Joe around, I can understand he's a physical threat. I get it, he's in challenges, but if you don't get rid of Joe the first opportunity you have to, you stand no chance against him once the merge comes. So you need to the minute they have the opportunity to get Joe out, they need to get him out. So, yeah, on the Manu tribe, people are starting to get annoyed with Reem because they're trying to wash and dry their clothes, and apparently Reem's touching their clothes and putting them on the beach so they'll dry faster, but they kind of feel like this is an invasion of privacy, and I get where that could rub people the wrong way, but yeah, you don't want to touch anyone's belongings out there because you don't know what she's going to be doing out them. She genuinely was drying them, but you don't know. She could be going through their pockets looking for idols or idol clues or whatever. And Keith and Reem seem to bond. Keith mentions how he's a mama's boy and looks at Reem as a mama figure. She told him not to call him her, not to have her. Oh my God, not to say it out loud, not to have her have that label on. But what pisses me off is that when they were jumping off the boat earlier, Keith mentioned how he can't swim. If you can't swim, then how the hell are you on Survivor? How the hell did you make it on Survivor? That's just ridiculous. So Keith's having swimming lessons with Reem and Wendy, and that put a target on their back because those three separated. And now Kelly just said, oh, well, now they have the numbers now. So, yeah, I kind of knew Kelly would be in the majority alliance because she didn't. In Second Chance, she wasn't necessarily in the majority alliance. She had a great alliance because they were a powerhouse, but something told me that Kelly would definitely be either in charge of an alliance or be part of a majority. So now Reem, Keith, and Wendy are all on the bottom. So the reward immunity challenge, they have to go through an obstacle, and then one person has to climb and ring a bell. They have to go across this bounce beam, and then one person has to go to a crow's nest and drop the slide, and they all solve a side puzzle. And the reward is the usual reward for the first episode, fire in the form of flint. And the Manu tribe was struggling at first, but then it looked like it was going to be neck and neck, and it actually was the Kama tribe that won immunity. So Joe and Aubrey at least get to stay another day. So, yeah, wonder about David and Kelly because their team lost. So, back at the Manu tribe, Kelly's worried because during the challenge, she got hit hard in the head. I was honestly scared for her. I'm like, oh my God, please do not let Kelly be out from medevac. She's one of my favorite Survivor people. So I'm like, oh my God, please do not tell me she's one of the first people out. She wasn't, so that's good. Keith realized that one of his weaknesses is that he's socially awkward, so he wants to make sure he has one-on-one conversations with everyone, which I think is smart, so he can, get his name out there and try to build relationships with someone, because that's key to have a really good social game. And Reem mentions how she wants to get Lauren and Kelly out, and I could definitely agree with that, because she sees them already as a power couple. Now, were they planning stuff together already? We don't know. They could have just been friends talking. We don't know everything that goes on out there, but she definitely wants to split them up. And David and Dan then try to feel out Wendy and see where she's at on this whole thing. And at first they thought they should keep Wendy because they need her to win challenges, but then once they talked to Wendy, Dan realized that that it might be better. They might be better off to keep Reem, because Wendy would be extremely hard to work with, because she has once her mind is set, that's it. That's she doesn't want to hear what anyone else has to say. So for their game, they look like they're gonna go for Wendy, and Wendy then tells Reem that Reem's name was thrown out there, and then Reem's pissed. So at Tribal Council, Reem was the center of attention. Reem's annoyed that her name was thrown out, but I really, really loved what Kelly said, that this is part of the game of Survivor. Her name was mentioned, Lauren's name was mentioned, this is part of the game, and Reem thinks that Kelly should take it as an honor that her name was thrown out. But then Kelly came back and said, well, just one question, why wasn't David's name thrown out there? If it should be an honor, why wasn't David's name? So Kelly already knows, has that mindset and knows what's going on. She could see that Reem saw her as a threat, and we all know Kelly's a threat, let's be honest here. And Reem is confused as to why everyone is so mad at her, and they tell her that sometimes the way her personality is, it can rub people the wrong way, and they try to explain to her that they didn't want her touching their clothes. They thought it was an invasion of privacy, and Reem was just trying to dry the clothes, and it was just over clothes. It's just it's amazing, just the first episode, one little thing, one bad first impression can make you the first person out, and unfortunately, that was the case for Reem, and she was the first person voted out. So, yeah, it sucks. Nobody wants to be the first person out, but as Jeff said, somebody's got to be the first person out. But there is a big twist this season. When you are voted out, you are not voted out of this game. You have an opportunity. To your right, if you want to end your Survivor journey, you're more than welcome to go home. But if you want to continue your Survivor journey, you grab a torch and you go to, I believe it's Extinction Island. Jeff hasn't said it yet. I know the season's called Edge of Extinction, but is it called Extinction Island? So from what we saw where Reem was, she grabbed the torch and there was literally nothing there. So this will be very interesting this season as the episodes go on, to see how people adapt to that island, but also to see if anybody quits, if anybody says, I want to go home. So it should be interesting. I'm very excited for Survivor. Hope you guys are too. Next week's episode shows that the other castaways are starting to see that the returning people are threats. David is all for Kelly going home, and Ron also mentions on the Comic Tribe that Aubrey and Joe gotta go. So yeah, should be interesting. So I hope you guys enjoyed tonight's Survivor. If you want to check out Survivor, it is on Wednesdays, 8 p.m. on CBS. Until next time, stay regal.